Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Noisy Neighbours podcast. We've just gone into mega detail on the Wirtz deal for City, flipping over to the red side of Manchester and looking at Ruben Amorim, who is under severe pressure, despite looks like he is safe job-wise, but the fan pressure is severe. Social media pressure is terrible. Christian, we've got to get into this and talk about my manager, how it's been, what I think we should do as a club, and what I think the fans should think. So, Christian, this is obviously it's weird because the Europa League campaign has been very good, legitimately very good. Scored a load of goals, won the ties eventually. Lyon was the only dicey one. Unbeaten in Europe, the only team that can say that in the world. Yeah. Which is completely crazy because Inter and PSG must have lost in the group stages, and Spurs did as well. So, yeah, look, it's wild. Manchester United.
Before we get into the things we want to talk about, I just wanted to ask your opinion on this, and I know we've probably asked this a million times, but you've watched your team all year, and it's bewildering to everyone listening to this, every Man United fan in the world, every other neutral fan in the world. What you just mentioned, how well your performances have been in Europe. What is happening when you play on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon, Premier League, and you play bang average opponents? Because I saw you arguing with someone on the channel about, or you might not have even been arguing, you were discussing with someone about, you can't possibly be telling me that a Wolves are better than a Lyon, a Bilbao. And I read it and I fully agreed with you. So what is happening? What is happening with the players?
Yeah, I think that the Europa League is a decent sample size. We've played 14 games in the Europa League. We've not lost any. We've won a lot of them. We've scored a lot of goals in them as well. I think we scored 35 goals in 14 Europa League games, which is very, very healthy return. Premier League's been completely different. We lose most games and we don't score in many. So it's just polar opposite. It's not even like one thing's carrying over. What I think that there's things have happened in the Europa League. I think the first leg against Bilbao was a nice situation that developed. I think every decision was correct by the referee. But I also believe that it led to United winning the tie 7-1 on aggregate. Now, but even you look at Sociedad was 5-1 on ag.
Yeah.
Lyon was 7-6 on aggregate. Even if you look at those haunting goals conceded against Lyon, we still scored 7 in 2 games against Lyon. And the group stages, we beat Rangers, we beat these other little teams, So it's very difficult. I think I don't really know. I think there's inconsistencies. I think average players are not consistent. Is it just a coincidence that they seem to play better in midweek and not at the weekend? Feels like for Thursday they might be a bit fresher. I don't really know the preparation.
Do you think, I just wanted to spin this to you, Alex, just to play devil's advocate, do you think it could be an issue, European-wise, maybe you are affording more respect and possibly these clubs, I'm not saying they're not aware of Man United's downfall, but you still carry that name, that aura, like me and you've spoken about famously on the pod and the cup runs and how you have won cups in recent years. Do you think it's more a case of that and maybe they hold out a little bit more respect and the likes of West Ham are coming to your ground thinking, we actually think we're better than you?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly they don't know how bad we are. Also, the errors, though, and we're going to come to the errors because I want to talk about them. We seem to make more errors in the Premier League individually. And there was a whole host of them on Sunday again by the £50 million roadrunner in centre mid who can't run forwards with the ball.
That was a shocker.
You've got the goalkeeper in net who now he's not playing in the Premier either, and we've ended up with the other one who's not very good. It's very, very difficult to explain. I always feel like 3-4-3 lends itself a little bit better in knockout tournaments as well because teams don't really know what to expect, whereas Premier League teams do. Maybe that's an element of that physicality as well. But you look at some of the games recently, and it's just a calamity of errors, really. But I want to talk about Amorim out. And I know this is a thing that's obviously picking up pace, and there's a lot of fans who believe he should be sacked in the summer, regardless of Wednesday.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, week on Wednesday, the Spurs Europa League final. And let's talk about Amorim's record and how it's gone. Manchester United have won 6 games out of 24 from under Ruben Amorim in the Premier League. 3 of them have come against the relegated teams. So just almost like 3 wins in 21 against the rest of the league. Really shit. So we've spoke about the drop-off. It's very hard to understand. I can't really work it out myself. There's nothing that jumps out at me. I can't, other than just errors seem to be happening more. It's like, if you think of an average player, say a mid-table player, the reason they're a mid-table player is because they play good one week and not very good the next. What seems to be happening is our players seem to be playing good Thursday, not very good Sunday, and it's rolling. But it's consistent. It's not. We don't get somebody playing bad on a Thursday and good on a Sunday. It's very, very, very weird. I think there's an element of that in that, like, you're not piecing together game to game success. The errors all seem to be coming in the Prem. Like, Ugate's been okay in he didn't make any of these errors against Lyon or Bilbao. I know it's 4 games, but then on Sunday he's jogging forwards, he falls over, and West Ham go and score. Onana, okay, he did the Lyon gaff. Other than that, he's not been abysmal in the Europa. Again, in the Prem, it was 1 a game when he was playing. Now he's not playing at all. So I'm struggling. All I can think is the inconsistencies. Is there a bit of belief in the Europa League? Are they almost? Because I said to you the other day, how are they mentally doing this, morale-wise? If you're getting twatted on a Sunday, 3 days later to pick yourself up against a Lyon or a Bilbao or a Sociedad or even a Rangers, how do you do that?
But Alex, this is why this European Cup final, is possibly the strangest ever in history, because you have got the alternate side of the cake in Tottenham Hotspur, and they're doing the exact same thing as you. They are getting hammered by everyone below or above them in the league, and then they're going in Europa. What I would say is, though, they haven't looked good in Europa either. They have been very much. They've had the easy side of the draw, and they have only just cobbled through.
Yeah.
They've really not played well. So, this is why this game is mad interesting, because you've got 2 teams that ultimately are so poor.
The concern is, obviously, it's an English team, so they play in the Prem. And United
that's it.
Yes,
and obviously,
it is Europa. So
the question is, it begs: do they have your number in terms of previous games?
So that's the confusion. That's not really Amorim. That's more the players and the team. I don't know how they're performing Thursday, not Sunday. It is strange. Let's have a look at the criticism, Christian, and I want you to chip in with stuff and elaborate on some things that I'm going to say here, because before I tell you what I think, let's list some stuff and I want you to talk about it. Okay, so the first thing, Ruben Amorim has not improved anyone, really. I'd say Diallo wasn't really playing. Ten Hag never fancied him. So you could say he's played Diallo. Whether he's improved him or not is another thing. Albeit he's not signed anyone. We're talking about inheriting someone else's shit and improving them. He hasn't done that. That you have to look at that and think, could he not have improved someone? Right. I will come to the players in a minute. That's one thing. If you're looking at sort of ahead to next season and Ruben Amorim is your coach, you give him some players, you give him 4 players, 5 players at a push in the summer. For this to turn around slightly, even slightly, he's going to have to get something from some of these players. Because if he hits on 4, say we sign 5 players, you hit on 4 starters, who's going to play the other 7 positions? Diallo, Bruno, and who? You're going to have to do something with the other. You're going to have to improve 3 or 4 of these guys at least. If you get injuries, you're going to have to improve 5 or 6. Now, this is my concern, and this is what I'm looking at, thinking, I'm not blaming him completely here. These players might be awful. They might not be able to be improved. But what I'm saying is, if he goes into the next season and the fans are like, we want to come top 6, this is where the standards have fell, by the way, not even top 4. If he hits in the summer window, which he has to, he's also going to have to improve some of these players. Can he do that, Christian? Can he improve any of them?
I mean, the evidence is, I mean, it's quite damning, isn't it, for United currently? Because, like you just said, he hasn't improved anyone. Diallo would be the one maybe exception. However, like you said, Ten Hag didn't play him, so it's a bit of a weird one.
Was Diallo just as good in the summer?
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, what's a serious concern linked to this is you look at Everton's manager that comes in. That they had a torrid time with Dyke at the end of it. Moisey comes in.
Yeah.
He steadies the ship, and they all of a sudden individually look better, and they look better as a team.
Mm.
Now, on the contrary, your guy has come in, and they have looked worse under him than they did under Ten Hag.
Yeah.
I know your opinions on Ten Hag, and mine pretty much reflect yours as well.
Yeah.
And I know Ten Hag is at fault for the recruitment of this dog shit. But I think what's worrying, his stubbornness in the system, and that there is, for me, I get he's going, this is the way I want to play, and that's it. But it's like, yeah, but mate, you are now losing to 17th in the league at a breeze. Like, they are comfortably coming and beating you. And it is not even a shock result. People are turning up to Old Trafford now expecting a loss to 17th in the fucking league. It's an absolute disgrace. I don't think, we haven't seen any evidence that he can make any of these guys better. And like you say, you can't go and sign 11 new starters. And even if he does, there's no guarantee that they will be at the correct level for Manchester United and where they want to be. I think he drastically needs to improve some of them. I texted you the other day, Alex, and I said, I know these players are shit. Most of them, if not all of them, right?
Yeah.
But he has got some Premier League proven players in there. They are not as bad as what they are showing out there at the moment.
Yeah.
So whether that's that they're down, if they've down tools for him, then that's a serious concern.
Yeah.
Or whether it's that he can't find the best out of them, which is what I would lean towards, and that's even more concerning.
Yeah. Well, also, he's not really tried to get anything out of them in a way that might suit the players. I mean, if you say, if deep down you look at some of the players and you think, okay, let's say Mainu as an example, and I'm not having to go totally at the system here because this was an issue last year. We were getting diced up. The issue is as much of Bruno Fernandes being a midfielder as it is 3-4-3. Effectively, if Bruno Fernandes is playing in your team, whether it's 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, you've got two in midfield. Now, Kobbie Mainu is one of those two midfielders. He's not attempted to change the formation to try and fit Mainu in. It has just been Mainu is benched, and if he plays in these dead league games, and he'll come on at the end of these Europa games. The stubbornness is like, what he says is, how can I sell the idea to these players if I cave on my idea when it gets tough? I get there's a point in there somewhere. However, Ruben, what I'm looking at, if you can't improve any of these players, if this is these players' ability, they all need to go. And I'm talking near enough all of them. Obviously, the young lads you give a pass to, Ahmad you'd keep, and Mainu you would keep. But you're talking about 95% of the squad then are complete shite. So if they are, they all need to go. So why are you bothering selling your idea? Is there a bit of tweaking you could do to make it a bit better? You've got going fans, you've got people paying to go and watch this team, to just rock up and go, well, this is my idea. I'm not changing because it'll show weakness. Whether we win or lose, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair on the match-going fan. I don't think it's fair on the fans at home. I don't think it's fair, to be honest. And I don't like that teams can just prepare for us easily. It's so easy to do.
Can I just say something on that, Alex? So, you are so right, and these match-going fans. And I feel like another thing with Amorim is he speaks very well, very eloquent guy. The things he comes out with, you can tell this guy's incredibly intelligent. And I think that leans to what his comments are. He's methodical in the way he says things, and it impresses a lot of people. But now, the problem is, are you saying what you're saying truly for that reason? That, I can't drop my idea because what does that say to all these guys? Or are you doing it out of a more arrogant stance? Because, in my opinion, it's more the arrogant stance at this point in time.
But he knows what we've seen. He's watching the same stuff as us, so he knows these players can't stay if this is the idea. So what's the point? Why dig your heels in?
I feel the arrogance more comes from that he's obsessed with this idea working, and that I think there is an element of if he changes it even slightly and the players look better. Say you change it
Yeah.
Mainu drops a 9 out of 10. That creates a serious issue for him because then it's a very slippery slope. Because if he goes back next year and he signs 3 players and you go back to the system that he likes and Mainu shit again, your fans will fucking pile on him. That's why he's not doing it, and that's where my arrogance statement comes from rather than any other factor in it.
Well, as well, just for you and anybody else watching this, that there's stuff on that when he took over at Sporting, things did get a little bit worse before they got better, not to this degree.
Yeah.
And then when they got better, they were rampant. They were an amazing side. Now, okay, is he leaning on that a little bit? Is he going, look, I know it's bad, however, it's going to get better. The problem is now, what's happening is he's not going to get sacked. We know that. He might, unless he walked, which, to be honest, from some of his conversations, some of his interviews, I wouldn't rule that out either. The leash is getting shorter for next season.
Do you think if United lost, do you not even think that's a conversation that if United lose this cup final, do you think he is at risk?
From my perspective, all the clubs.
Both.
Clubs, I think he's staying regardless. I do not believe Ineos are going to sack him. At all. I just don't. I really don't. And I think there should be... Well, look, I mean, I don't know what the conversation is, whether it's, we're not going to sack you, but you've got 10 games next year to show us something. I don't know where that leash is. Like, you know, just because they don't fire him. Look at Ten Hag. He won the FA Cup. They didn't fire him. He was gone in October. Maybe...
I think where I understand...
A similar conversation to that, possibly.
I think where I would understand that they're saying, you know, we wouldn't sack him, but then, you know, you've invested a lot of money and you would have to then pay him off. But at the same time, in the same breath, you're going to have to give this guy a lot of money. You're going to have to double down. It's not like, oh, we'll keep him till December, see if he picks up. No, you're going to have to give this guy 200, 300 million to overhaul his squad.
So
and do you believe he has shown enough to put the trust in him to give him that amount of cash, that windfall?
That's where the biggest concern is for me, is that going into next season, to make significant strides, I believe he's going to have to get something out of this group, or some of them. And I'm struggling to see where that comes from. And I was going to end with this, but with the sort of segue into next season, honestly, I don't see this working out. I think he's going to get sacked next season. I think we might win the Europa League. I think we might do that. But I also think he's going to go next season because I don't think the strides are going to be significant enough. Win or lose on Wednesday against Tottenham. Yeah. I don't think that he's going to be able to make the strides, whether that's him, players, ownership, signings, recruitment. I don't know. I just can't see it. I can't see that we're going to come into next season with 4 new players and all of a sudden you're going to have Dorgu, Yoro, Dallo, Ugarte, Mainu are all going to suddenly fit and be good. I don't know. Look, Ahmad's very good, and good for him. He's grafted his bollocks off, and he's a legitimately good player. We'll come to Ahmad in a minute. Let's flip it to the defence of Ruben Amorim. And
on that, Alex, just before you do, I just wanted to say I have one more question for you. So, where do you think, if he is to stay next year, what do you think is an acceptable target that would appease both the club and the fans in alignment?
Very, very good question. And this was something that I remember speaking to my mates about last year with Ten Hag, was I didn't believe 8th was an anomaly, the league position. I thought 8th was a reflection on the players that Ten Hag had signed and also Ten Hag as a manager.
Yeah.
Now, some of my friends were like 3rd. I did not believe we could finish above anybody really in that top 6. So I knew Ten Hag was going to get sacked because I knew he couldn't do it. I didn't think the window was as good as people made out either. So it wasn't like we signed 5 amazing players and thought Ten Hag could get a tune out of them. I actually thought that it was a pretty average window, to be honest. So I wasn't shocked. I honestly think you're going to have to look at Amorim in rather than looking at, say like Arsenal, we want you to come first, Mikel Arteta. I think with Amorim, it's going to be a bit more complex. I don't think you're going to be able to just say 6th or 5th. It's going to be, we've got 10 games in August, September, October. I want to look at them 10 games and I want to see progress. I want to see points. I want to see goals. I want to see the idea coming to fruition. Yeah. I almost think that you could come to May next year and wherever you are, I think the season has to be diced up because you haven't got the trust that Amorim can go 38 games and come fifth. So in a way, you've almost got to go so many baby steps because you've almost got to go, okay, let's see where you are in October, Ruben, because if this is still dire, you're gone. So in a way, Christian, it's that bad. I can't even set a goal position-wise. I want to see the first 10 games of next season. I want to see progress. I want to see players looking comfortable. I don't want to see these ridiculous errors. And I'm not saying that's all him, by the way. I want to see good signings coming in and affecting the games positively. And I want to see goals. I want to see attackers scoring. I don't want to see 7 defensive players on the pitch. So that's my answer, is that I can't tell you 6th because there's too many hurdles for me to even consider a finishing position. Now, if he gets to May, then we can look at position and go, is 7th acceptable based on what we've seen or not? Have you done well against the bigger teams? Have you done well against City, Liverpool, Arsenal? There's going to be factors in there. The position, to me, as long as it's not bottom half, is a little bit irrelevant, really. I think the baby steps are going to be more important for fans and the ownership, and certainly Amorim as well. So, yeah, it's a very good question. I don't even have the answer, mate. I think you would understand what I'm saying is that I need to see 10 games and then we'll go again. And then we'll go, let's see where you are at Christmas when you play in Everton, City and Crystal Palace in a 10-day span over Boxing Day. Let's see how you do then. You know, these elements of, say we qualify for the Champions League, PSG on Wednesday, Crystal Palace on the Sunday early kickoff. Let's see how you do
Alex,
then. So
no, I totally agree with you. I think that's the way. It's the best mindset to go into next season with, and you assess after a few months and a few games, and you see the trajectory in which the squad, the performances are going in. The one thing I think he is quite lucky, he's quite fortunate, Amorim, because your fans, you might not like this actually, but I do think a fair comparison, a lot of your fan base reminds me of the Arsenal fan base, and they will really get behind. They're always torn, even when it's like a manager categorically. Like for me, I'm a City fan. I will call a spade, especially when United's concerned. You're my brother. We talk about United. When it was Ten Hag, I was like, he should go. He's useless. I will just say it's simple. And you, most of the time, we're in alignment with our opinions. However, United seem to always be torn. Mourinho came to the end of his tenure. It was obviously he needed to go. It was untenable. But a lot of United fans like singing his name. They want him to stay. Arsenal, very, very similar in this as well. So that is where I think he's going to have a lot of backing, and he's going to have. He's at the right club. If he does show even a little bit of improvement and the squad's going in the right direction, he'll have people behind him. So he's certainly got a chance. But then that period between start of the season, middle of August, whenever it is, to about October, November, he has really got to improve, and he's got to improve against Premier League opponents and show the level. If he doesn't, it's dire, and he could be the first one out at Christmas.
Yeah, no, I think he could go after 10 games. I mean, Erik ten Hag, who we're going to include in this sort of argument now, the counter argument, and why Ruben Amorim deserves to start the season as Manchester United manager, which is, my belief is, win or lose on Wednesday, I would continue with Amorim into the summer and the start of the season, unless it was some ridiculously embarrassing night where it was just even I can't defend it. Now, the strange thing is you know me, we talk every day. We have done most of our lives. I am always one of the early people with managers, and I'm quite harsh on certain managers, and I also think I pick up when it's over. You mentioned Mourinho. Yeah. I knew it was over with Mourinho when he didn't get Maguire because he spat his dummy out and he was doing his mental shit like playing Herrera at centre-back. And then Ollie, I knew the Ronaldo thing, constantly playing Maguire, sticking with McFred for the time he did. I knew it was over as well with Ollie early, whereas fans to this day will still say we should have stuck with Ollie. And Ten Hag, I never really liked Ten Hag. I thought he was a poor communicator. I didn't think his talent ID was very good, which was proven. Fucking hell, he proved that pretty amazingly well. So cheers, Eric. You're still proving that now, actually.
He's a lasting legacy.
You know, with Ruben, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if I can't work out why I'm not just saying sack him, and I'm not digging my heels in. You know me, like I'll just check if somebody comes in that I like and then they become shit. You know, I loved Martial, but towards the end,
there's no emotional.
When Martial went to Sevilla, I was like, that's it now, and he was one of my favourite players. I loved Martial, but I was never like, I could accept the situation had changed. With Amorim, I think some of these things I'm going to list to you now are why I don't think it's fair to fully grade him just now. I don't think you can fully grade him just now, despite what we've just mentioned and his shortcomings, and the fact that I don't think this is going to work out for him. However, I think it's worth seeing. That's my. I think where Man United are. I don't want to sack Amorim because he's not improved Dalot, and Højlund and Dorgu and Maguire and Ugarte. From what I'm looking at is those players aren't that good, really. Yeah. Yoro's been okay, and Dorgu I don't know about. I'll ignore Yoro and Dorgu for now, but say Ugarte, Højlund, Dalot, Maguire, those types of players they've been in a while, except Ugarte.
Yeah, their ceiling is incredibly limited.
I don't believe Pochettino could come in and play 4-3-3 and their fortunes would change. I don't believe that they're good enough. They need to leave. I believe everybody on planet Earth thinks that they are not good enough for Man United. So I don't want to sit there in the summer and go, let's sack Amorim while we've got these guys in the squad. Now, if Amorim gets 5 players in and nothing improves, fine. Get rid of Amorim and we go again. Now, put it this way, Christian, right? You've got 11 kids. They all go to the same school. They all take the same classes. Now, those 11 kids go to 4 classes. The 4 teachers say those 11 are terrible students. They're useless. They don't do the homework. They don't listen in class. They distract the crap. What do? Do you keep replacing the teachers? Do you keep sacking the teachers and bringing in new teachers? Or do you look at those 11 students and go, you know what, they're the problem. We need to pull them aside. We need to get rid of them.
Yeah.
At what point do we go, these players are not good enough to wear the shirt? At what point do we do that? Do we keep replacing the teacher? Do we keep going, no, let's replace Amorim. Let's get Poch and he plays 4 at the back. We just got rid of someone who played 4 at the back. The guy before that played 4 at the back. Christian, some of these players were here with Ollie. Dalot, Ollie. Lindelof, Ollie. Maguire. Bruno. Ahmad. This isn't like he didn't sign 6 players in January, and now we're talking about he's not improved. He's not improved Ugarte. He's not improved these players, mate. What if we can't improve them? What do we know about Ugarte? We know that PSG sold him and have become the best team in Europe. What do we know?
I hear you.
What do we know about Højlund? Højlund's never scored over 10 league goals, and he's 22 years old, and he's got 4 league goals this year. He missed a hatful of chances on Sunday. Oh, is it confidence crisis again? But he scored on Thursday, so it's not, is it? He's just not that good. Do you know what I'm saying, Christian? And this is where I'm like, this is where I am with Amorim. And look, if he's rubbish, we will find out. So I don't think. Yeah. Look, United aren't doing anything next year. Whether we sack, if somehow we got Klopp in, Man United ain't threatening next year. I think for what it's worth, let's let him give it a go. That's where I'm at, really. And for me, I want, if the players look shitter in a 3-4-3, in a way, I'm almost like good, because I want them gone. I want these players gone. I'm sick to death, mate, of these players.
Alex, I think in defence of Amorim, look, I asked you the question and I've said my piece on here tonight, and I've said, look, there's a lot of issues regarding him and a lot of question marks. Has he got the capability to get a tune out of some of these lads? We know they're below par, but can he get something out of them enough to rise you up the table? That's a question mark that will remain, and it will remain unanswered until next season. Yeah. But I think the one thing with Amorim, which I would say, is he has come in. We've seen an Arsenal rebuild when Arsenal's squad was depleted. We've seen Chelsea's a couple of times. We've seen a few times City have had a couple of bad ones. I think Amorim has come in to the worst group/project of any manager in the history of the top clubs. I think he has come in at the worst possible time, and this is why I think he is owed the chance to fix it. Yeah. Because the guys that are in there, it is a result of several bad windows, terrible recruitments, awful decisions by the board of managers and then respective transfers. It has all accumulated and it has got to this mountain of shit that unfortunately he is having to deal with. and he is then getting absolutely lumbered on by the likes of Neville, who is calling him out and things like it's ridiculous. So I think he is owed time at least. I don't think many people should really be saying I want him out now. I can understand the frustration at performances, but I think you really have got to take your emotions out of it sometimes and really think about the things that I've just listed. He look at the windows before this guy. He's been allowed to sign one player in Dorgu. His predecessors have spent close to $1 billion. And they have spent close to $1 billion on a combination of dog shit and bad egos.
Yeah, I totally agree, Christian. And I just want to talk about that. You touched on it. You said United are not the 16th worst squad in the league.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about that reputation and situation like that. I lean to agree. However, I don't think United's squad is that much. I think it's better than West Ham's.
Yeah.
I think it's better than Wolves, squad-wise, although we're going for their best player. And look, scoring goals is the aim of the game, and Wolves do it better than us because we are going for their striker. I would give them and the 3 relegated clubs, which is 5. I think Tottenham are better than us, but they're somehow below us. So let's say I think 5 teams. I think United are probably the 15th worst squad from what I've seen with my eyes. And I want to talk about how can we really grade that, and how is that an acceptable thing to say? Because ultimately, if Ruben Amorim goes and somebody else comes in, the squad isn't going to look like this. So we're never going to have the answer. So what can we go off? Erik ten Hag was the manager coming into the season. He was the manager for 9 league games this season. 9 league games is almost a quarter of the season. People are going to go small sample size, but it's still 9 league games. Okay, in those 9 league games, Erik ten Hag was sacked after the 9th, which was a loss at West Ham, ironically. We were on 11 points, and we'd scored 8 goals as a team. So we were averaging under a goal a game, and we had 11 points. 11 points after 9 games is about a 45, 46 point pace for the season, over 38 games. What I'm saying is if Ten Hag continued at that, somehow got the season, we know he weren't going to, Manchester United would have finished on 46 points, give or take. Manchester United are currently on 39 points with 2 games to go. They're probably going to lose both. So let's say we finish on 39. If we somehow won both, we would finish on 45 points, which is a point less than the Ten Hag pace when he got sacked. Now, what does that tell you? Do you look at this and go, oh my God, that means Amorim is as bad as Ten Hag, who I thought was useless. Now, one of my main issues with Ten Hag was the recruitment and the talent ID and the most mental decisions I've ever seen, team sheet wise. With Amorim, I've not been that pissed off really with the team sheets, although I don't love the system, but it's never been like Mazraoui has never started number 10 over Diallo and just insanity like that. What I'm trying to say is, at what point all we can go off, and the end of last season, we finished 8th with a team that had Varane, McTominay. People laugh at McTominay, but he got about 10, 12 goals last year for us, which we've not plugged, by the way. So we've lost those 12 goals. If you look at the FA Cup final team, let's run it. Okay, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, and Dalot. So at the minute, you've got all 4 of them are unavailable. 2 of them are injured. Martinez serious. Varane, Wan-Bissaka sold. Then you've got centre mid. Who played centre mid that day was Amrabat, gone. McTominay, gone. Mainu. Okay, we still got Mainu, Fernandes. We still got Mainu and Fernandes. Then the split strikers were Rashford and Garnacho. So Rashford's gone as well. So the FA Cup final team that finished 8th in the league, give or take, I know you've got a few players on the bench. They finished 8th. We have lost Varane. We've lost Martinez to an ACL. We've lost Amrabat, who was better than Ugarte. McTominay was key for us last year, even though I didn't rate him. We've never got close to filling those 10, 12 goals that he got. Rashford's gone. Anthony's gone. These players, Eriksen's a year older. Varane was man of the match in the FA Cup final. Wan-Bissaka's better than Mazraoui. These things, you look at that and you think, well, we were 8th with that squad, and we've dropped another 8 places to the 16th. Are we actually 16th, 15th squad in the league? Like, just looking at it from the last 18 months, we've been on a decline as it is with better players. What do you think about that? Like, where do you actually think this squad is? Like in the league?
It's a fair point. It's definitely one worth a conversation. I think with me, I do kind of agree to you. Yeah, your point. I think they're not too much better than where they're at if you look at them player for player. I think when you break it down, I think the personal trajectory of a lot of these players is concerning. I think that's more the area where I'd be concentrating on Amorim.
Yeah.
I think, like, for instance, like a Mazraoui, even like a Ugarte, for instance, like you said, his performances in Europa have been steady. Why in the Premier they completely capitulating and he can't do the basics? Some of your players just passing out of play, not making easy passes. Like we've said in the past, are they doing this in training? Maybe they are just that shit, and we will see this next year. And if they are, fair enough. Amorim's vindicated, but I think that what's made it worse for Amorim is the performances in the Europa, because then it's lamping it on him in the Prem, because then they're putting a performance in on a Thursday, and then, like you said, they're going on a Sunday, and they look like a hungover Sunday league team just want to get the 90 minutes done with and just lose. So it's a
great point. Let me just interject there on your point there about Europa. It's the performances in Europa make you sort of you can't work it out. What about the flip side is Amorim isn't turning into a good manager on Thursday nights. Let's play devil's advocate. Let's play the flip side here. Amorim is not telling Ugarte to not fall over under no pressure in his own half to concede a goal. So he's not telling Onana not to. You know what I mean? It's like I completely take your point. It's like, look, you're the manager, mate. Why are you sending him out on a Thursday and they're scoring 7 over 2 legs, and then on Sunday they can't score any against fucking West Ham? I take your point, but then let's flip it. Amorim isn't the best manager in the world against Bilbao. Is he also not the worst manager in the world against West Ham? Do you get my point?
Yeah, no, it's so true. But we've seen this over and over again. Who is ultimately the fall guy in them situations? Because you're not going to get rid of the whole team. Ultimately, it's the one guy that's in charge. Because the question then begs: can someone else get more out of them? This is where United need to be careful, though. Because I do agree with you. You know my opinions on this United squad. I've just said what I said on Amorim. He took the United job, and I don't think he wanted the United job, but he didn't want it when it came. But I think he was given an ultimatum, it's now or never. He was put in a situation where United twisted his arm up the wall, and he had to go, right, I'll come. So he did. But I think he envisaged this, or he at least feared it, because he was looking at this as, at the time, everyone was saying a top-class manager. Everyone was twerking when they battered City, and they were all lauding this guy as one of the next best managers in the world. He's come here, and everyone's saying he's a joker, he's a clown. I think he did know, maybe not to the extent, but he had concerns. That's why he didn't want to come now. He wanted to go in the summer, because at least then he would be allowed some sort of freedom to replace a lot of this shit. So I think you've got to also look at the bigger picture at that. It wasn't that Amorim was begging for this job when it came. He just could not turn it down, and United took advantage of a bit of a situation. They paid the fee that they wanted, and Amorim is now stuck. Amorim knew he was going to get fucking lumped on for how bad these lot are.
Yeah.
But is it a lot on him, or is it more on his predecessor that was an absolute donut that signed this lot? I think there's certain players where I just would say with Amorim that I think, look at like a Mason Mount, right? You know I don't rate Mason Mount at all, but it's the same way I don't rate Gibbs White. I'd say they're quite similar level. A peak Mason Mount, I'd say, is similar to a peak Gibbs White.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much difference. What I'm meaning is, he could get more out of these individuals. Your star guy, for me, is Mainu. And it's a dream signing for a lot of clubs, I'm telling you. If he comes on the market, a lot of big boys will take him.
Yeah.
And it is a bit concerning to see that these guys have really flopped under him. So that needs to change. And that's all I'd say on that. Especially Mainu, I think you need to get that guy firing. You need to work out a position for him. You cannot sell him.
No. You make a great point, and I think there is fair criticism. Look, all I can say is, going into next season, I will continue with my assessment of Amorim, and it is not set in stone. From my perspective, my issue is with the players, and if anything, the Europa League success, albeit against European sides, not Prem. Hopefully it continues with a Prem team next week, and we beat them. we beat Tottenham. But I think almost that leads to my point that these players are just inconsistent. People speaking to my mate before about Højlund, and he's like, he did this last year and he did that last year, and he scored a goal, he dinked the keeper. Federico Macheda, Cruyff turned and curled one in the top corner in the last minute against Villa to almost win the league for us in 2009. He ended up in League One. At what point do you just go, he did something okay once, but really, on Sunday, well, let's look at Sunday. I don't want to get into Højlund. It's just depressing. But he's missing loads of chances, and what are you telling me? If Pochettino plays a 4-3-3, Højlund's going to start finishing the chances he got on Sunday? He's not. He's not that good. So
I just wanted to say this as well. I was away. I was in Turkey, and I joined one of your watch-alongs. And Obi, by the sounds of it, I did not watch the highlights, but you weren't too impressed with his performances. However, you were only reflecting things that I've been saying since I saw this guy. I was not lumping on him because I'm a bitter City fan, or I just want to take the piss out of a young lad that plays for United. I seriously wasn't. I was giving a genuine assessment. I thought he couldn't control the football. I didn't think he even deserved to be in the first team. I don't know how he'd got out of the academy. That was my honest opinion, and it still is. If he changes that, fair enough. All you were saying reflected the things that I already knew. And a lot of your fan base, I don't understand them. Why are they scared to just call a spade a spade? Why do they have to spearhead these dog shit players? Because do they not understand? They take a lot of responsibility in why Man United have got to where they've got. Because Fergie could do this with the lesser players because he could get work rate out of them. But make no mistake, Fergie did have a few Machedas and people like that, but he also had the top-class guys, your Rooneys, your Berbatovs. His spine was always strong. Now what you've done is you've got a team full of these fucking donuts. And that's why they are where they are. Rooney said it, Alex, the other week on Sky. I think you sent me the clip.
Yeah.
And he's spot on. You could always get away with one or two who would put in a job for 20 minutes. United start the game with these 11, and that is their level.
Yeah, exactly. These lot are more belly on than they are Saha, Rooney, Ronaldo. Yeah. Simple as that. Rooney's absolutely bang on with that. I don't rate Garnacho, don't rate Højlund, don't rate Mount. Diallo's a good footballer, but Diallo is a type of player who needs players around him. Look, I mean, Christ, who would look good in this team? I don't think you could give it fucking anybody on that wing and they look good. The fact that Diallo has had a 7 out of 10 season actually makes me probably feel a bit higher on him than I probably should, just because I'm thinking, Christ almighty, he can't even get a 1-2 off some of these lot. The touches on Sunday from Garnacho, my God,
Alex, I don't know what it is with it, and I'm not just
passes.
Yeah, I'm not just looking on your fans as well, because to be fair, I didn't really know my fan base had it in them until recent times, because we've always had such good players. I was never going to disagree with someone saying Mahrez was world class, because he was. But now it is becoming evident. We've got a load of these divs as well that are like saying about Savinho and Doku. No, let's stop celebrating mediocre, because suddenly you become fucking mediocre as a club. 100%. And that slowly happened to City. And we've seen what it's done to United. United genuinely were near to getting relegated. They are not that far away. And this is what you see. City fans can laugh at the state of United. Okay, fair enough, I'm all for laughing at them as well, but fucking be careful, because it's the same idiots that are saying, oh yeah, well, look at the potential of Savinho, Doku, potentially world class. No, they're not. And this is the worry. United did the same fucking thing. Look where they ended up.
That's it, mate. You make a great point. What I want, if there's any United fans watching this who want Amorim sacked, and look, I don't want to have a go at people, because I went early on Ten Hag, maybe not verbally, but in my head, I said to you, I never got over the Etihad game, really deep down, the 6-3 game. I just couldn't work out a manager with a football brain would ever think that was a good idea. I know people make mistakes, and I just deep down never got over it. And he was not good in interviews. He didn't speak very clearly. Considering he was Dutch, he couldn't get. I just couldn't get his ideas, and I couldn't really understand him. So I get it. Look, if you really dislike Amorim or the 3-4-3 or whatever, I'm not going to tell you you're not allowed to say I want him sacked. What I would just say to you is, ask yourself where Højlund, Garnacho, Dalot, Maguire, Lindelof, Ugarte, Dorgu, Onana, ask yourself, which team would these play for in the Prem? If you believe they are considerably higher than where we are in the league, fine. I disagree. That's my point I'm making is that can we look at the kids in the class before we look at the teacher? The teacher might also be useless, but I know those children in the class are fucking stupid. So let's deal with them. Give Amorim, by all accounts, he wants Matheus Cunha. We all agree he's a very good player from what we've seen. Whoever's in charge, if it's Pochettino, if it's Javi, if it's fucking Ancelotti, we all would go and get Cunha. So it's not like he's doing any severe damage by doing that. He's not going to Sporting Lisbon and spending 90 million on a random winger a la the other guy. So that's my point is, look, let's just give him 10 games. The leash is short. I agree. I am not saying that I think he has another season. Put it this way. I want to revisit this. Look, I think after 5 games, we're going to know where this is going, Christian. Maybe even after 1. We might look at that first league game against whoever it is, especially if it's winnable, and God forbid we lose it. You already think, Christ, he's not going to get sacked after 1 game.
The ladder's shaking.
Exactly. So, look, I just want you to look at it from that perspective and try and just think that some of these players were here under Ollie. A lot of them were here under Ten Hag. Really, whether Amorim's good or not, 85, 90% of these players have got to leave the club. We're sick of them. I'm sick of them. I don't want to see Garnacho struggling to control 10-yard passes. I don't want to see Højlund missing chances. I don't want to see Onana throwing it in the back of the net. I don't want to see Ugarte falling over under no pressure. I'm sick of it. Am I worried about Amorim? Is there fair criticism? Of course there is. Can we look at the ones on the pitch who are doing dog shit things every weekend? Because inconsistent players do well on Thursday, then they do shit on Sunday. That's all they are. Put West Ham. Put West Ham in the Europa League. They probably do. They might have the odd night where they beat Lyon, but then they'll get absolutely waxed on Sunday by Brentford. That's all they are. That's all we are. It's just weird how it's falling, the Groundhog Day shit. I did it, but that's all I want to say from my perspective.
Alex, I think it's a balanced summary of the situation. I think you've got to wait and see it's huge what happens in the summer. We've seen Cunha, looks like that's done. That's massive because Cunha's actually quietly one of my favourite players in the league to watch. I really do enjoy watching him. Yeah. So he's a bit of a throwback, Cunha. So I think that's a good deal. I think United have done well to get that over the line if they do. I think you need to really prioritise what positions you improve because I'm guessing the noise from the outside is it's limited resources with United this year. So I don't think you've got like some sort of 400 million war chest that's going to be opened in the summer. I suppose it's going to have to be smart pickups. One I would have looked at, I know it's if Liverpool are going for him, then it is what it is. He's going to go there. But Frimpong, I thought, would have been a great pickup for United. Yeah. So they've got to look in the market at these smart deals that they can get over the line, maybe north of 30, south of 50. And if you can find quite a few good pickups, it can build you a spine that you can go forward on. And that's the main thing for Amorim.
Yeah, I agree. I think you make some good points. I think as well, like maybe there might be a Sporting Lisbon player or two in there that might be a bit cheaper. I know Coenda's going to Chelsea, isn't he? Which is a bit of a shame because he's highly rated. I would go for Gyökeres as well, regardless of the fee. I'd go for Gyökeres and Cunha would be my 2 pick.
I think the winger's getting a lot of attention, isn't he? So I wouldn't be surprised if United maybe
Ederson at Atalanta. He's probably he's to your point. He's probably on the higher premium price list. Obviously, he was man of the match in the Europa League final last year. So, look, let's just accept the next 2 league games. Hopefully, we win the biggie against Tottenham, where we have been a lot better. And the pre-season, get some signings in, and then he gets, in my opinion, 10 games, and we can judge him from there. And hopefully, he gets another 10 because I just don't think I've got the energy to go for another manager just yet. I like to have a good whinge up, really. I've not even got to that point yet. So,
do you think, just one more, Alex, before we wrap up, do you think potentially you win that Europa League, you go straight into the Champions League? Do you think that hinders Amorim and Man United's possible progression next year just because of the level of opponent you could potentially come up against and the group? You could be in a so-called group of death. Or do you think, look, it's a chance to go on another European run? I personally, just before you go, I would almost say it'd be better to. I really think your bread and butter's the league, and especially how this season's gone and ending. I think he needs to improve, get his house in order before you start looking at other comps. Get that. I know you've not got an option if you win the Europa, you're straight in that, but it is a daunting prospect to think they could come up against a PSG.
In a way, the new system of the Champions League, where you're all in one massive table and you get 8 random games, in a way, we could do poorly and still get a playoff, similar to what City did.
Of course, yeah.
So, and in a way, even if you lost that, it's effectively going out in the groups. In a way, that sort of, I like to think we could get to that. But yeah, like you said, it's the impact on the league games. I think it puts pressure on, say you get 5 or 6 games of the season before the first Champions League game, maybe less now with the bigger group. It puts massive pressure on them first 4. I worry if we have a Champions League game after a month of the season and we win 1 out of 4 or don't win any. I mean, good God, because look at what this has proven, because they've done okay Thursday and dog shit Sunday. So like you said, if we have PSG, Dortmund and Benfica 3 games in a row, are we just going to get battered the corresponding league games? So look, mate, you make a great point, and next season is just so far off, but I do just think we have to project it in sort of sequences of 10, 12 games and go from there, because he hasn't got 38 games to play with anymore. He's burnt it. Not him personally. We know that the players are dog shit as well, but he's done nothing to help his cause. I think that's the fairest way to end it. But there's
at the end of the day, Alex, he signed that deal to come in January. He was, maybe he was sceptical, but he knew what he was signing up for. Yeah. And unfortunately, that has resulted in pressure now. And he's not going to be afforded the same luxuries next year. If he starts slow, fuck me. The pressure, he thinks the pressure's back now. It is going to be people really stepping on his throat. I mean, he needs to start fast.
To his point as well, he did mention about if it continues into next season, maybe somebody else should take over. So he's already sort of putting it out there. Did he say
that? Yeah.
Yeah, basically. He worded it, somebody else should be in this seat. So he knows the situation, and fair play to him. Look, I like him. I think there's a lot to like about him. I think he's got great charisma. Communication is amazing, considering English is not his first language, and
he's already passing on the lava baton, isn't he?
yeah, that's it. But I think he's a good guy, and I think he wants to really succeed at United. I just hope he finds a way to do it. But time will tell. Just on final note before we wrap up on this, I do want to shout out to Ruben Amorim. There was news that broke today that he has funded the trip for backroom staff, physios, etc., who were not being rewarded with a free ticket to Bilbao. Ruben Amorim has actually paid for it for the staff to go over there. So epic. Shout out to Ruben Amorim for that.
Yeah.
That's to literally pay for staff tickets. After being the club would not fund the trip to Bilbao. We know the situation around Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe and stuff like that. So,
no, that's incredible. I didn't know that. I had actually read it in the week. I had read in the week that they weren't going to be providing tickets. So that's excellent.
And it's reported by ESPN as well. So it's not a rumor. It's official. So fair play to Amorim. I know in a weird way he's shown the club up, but it shows his values, and I do believe he's a good guy. And I believe if he can find something, he could be a success at this club. And time will tell. But yeah, shout out to him for that. Great gesture.
I think the thing is,
hope he gets it done.
That's why he's going to get time, Alex. That leans to it, because he seems a nice dude.
Yeah.
Little things I've seen of him when he interacted with that young lad that he had his disability after the City game, and he just seems a nice fella, in all honesty. So whereas Ten Hag was an idiot, and he came across as an even bigger idiot. So he was never going to get that patience, you know what I mean? The normal going fan, such as yourself, would be like, well, he's a fucking idiot. Whereas Amorim's doing a very smart job. He's an intelligent guy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is loaded, what he's doing. but he's also not stupid.
No.
He's very intelligent in the media, and he's aware of how he comes across. I think that guy is calculated, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing.
You're right. He's saying the right things, and he's utilising the interviews to his advantage at the minute because the on-pitch stuff has been so bad. He is almost leaning on that a little bit. But look, he's not come out and said this. ESPN have got hold of the news that he's paid for it.
Yeah.
Amorim isn't shouting this and wants a pat on the back. He's doing it because he's a good guy. And look, fair play to him. So thank you for that, Ruben. I really hope you get the Europa League next week, obviously as a fan. But I also think that I can't imagine how he must feel going from the Jesus of management in October, leading Sporting Lisbon to a top 3 finish in the Champions League, to an idiot with a system that doesn't work in the Prem, apparently. So it must be personally hard for him to take, and it must have been a very difficult 7 months, and I really hope he gets the Europa League to go into the summer. I know he's acknowledged it doesn't actually make the season a good one, so again, he understands the size of it. He doesn't have that. He doesn't clap back like Ten Hag. It's like, Amorim is sat there going, even if we win the Europa League, the issues are way bigger than that. And I like that. Ten Hag spent 18 months arguing that he won the Carabao with the reporters. And that's the difference. And I never liked Ten Hag as a person, really. I thought he was a bit of a weird bloke. And Ruben seems a really nice guy. But obviously that's not good enough you can't come 16th and be okay.
Yeah.
So, look, different conversations there. But look, thank you for that gesture, Ruben. And hopefully these idiots do it on Wednesday. They do turn up in the Europa League. I know it's Tottenham. Can we just not tell them it's a fucking English team? They'll probably do them 3-0 if they don't. So,
mate, it's going to be a good one. I can't wait for the watch along. We've obviously got my boys up first, but we've got 2 serious watch alongs. Any guys, if you've made it through to the end of this video, you want to jump on for them watch alongs because they're going to be. We've seen from both our clubs this year, they don't make it simple. More you guys than us, but I can't see either of them games being plain sailing victories for either of our sides. So jump on, it will be entertaining.
Well, I know one of them won't be,
especially that United one.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be finishing work early and drinking to just prepare for anything. I need to prepare for all outcomes. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. Like my brother said, join in on the upcoming FA Cup Europa League watch-alongs. They're going to be brilliant, and we want you guys to get involved, interact with us and stuff like that. So 100%. Thank you for listening. If you got to this point in the video, hit us up in the comments. What do you think about Amorim? You Amorim out? Are you Amorim in? Do you like what I said? Do you like what Christian said? Tell us. We'll have a conversation with you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, by the way, because I was one of the harshest with Ten Hag. I was kind of done with him after about 3 months, even if I kept it to myself. So we can
see both sides of the argument, and we're always interested.
Hit us up in the comments. It'd be great to see what people think. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next one. Later, guys.